Hello and welcome to the ATAA Investor Webinar. Today we're joined by Managing Director Andre Booyzen and Chief Geologist Jonathan King. This session will discuss the company's recent assay results from the Maiden Diamond Drilling Program at its 100% owned Antimony Canyon Project in Utah and the next step for advancing the project. We thank everyone that submitted questions prior to the webinar, and Andre and Jonathan will endeavour to address them throughout this session. I'll now hand you over to.
Thanks, Kristen. Thank you very much. And welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar. We've got a good turnout today. So basically, today is just really going to be to review our recent announcement about Antimony Canyon. And, we just want to talk a bit about the significance of the discovery we've made at Antimony Canyon. And just a reminder, for those that don't know, this area obviously was mined many, many years ago during the war, the Second World War. But there's never been any real exploration and never been any drilling on the properties. So we're the first ones to actually get into the drilling and start detailed operation of the area. And really the aim of our first stage at Little Emma was really just to understand the geology, understand the feeders, understand what it looks like, and how the antimony and other minerals were deposited, and that'll set us up for really just doing the drilling on the other patented claims as we move forward. And obviously, again, our focus is 100% at this stage on our patented claims. And we started with Little Emma. And the reason we started with Little Emma is just it's close to the canyon entrance. It was one of the first patented claims, and it's just the access to it was pretty easy as well. So I'm going to hand over to Jono. Jono will cover a bit about the drilling and the geology, and then I'll give you a further update in terms of what our next steps are and some of the other exciting things we're working on. Thanks, Jono.
Good, thanks, Andre. I'll just get this open. Okay, so really, I guess the point here is that we've obviously submitted a number of holes for assay, and we've received 7 holes back at this point in time. And of those, a number of the holes have intersected a high-grade, shallow stibnite system. And of course, that's fantastic news in your first drilling program. So I just wanted to focus a little bit on that drilling, just have a quick look at it, look at the numbers. And as you can see from the diagram on the right, that there is a high grade zone which sits towards the base. This lower blue line is trying to mark about the top of the conglomerate. And we see that there is a nice high-grade zone that sits immediately above that conglomerate. And we've got these sorts of intersections here on the left in hole 10, 11 meters at 3.1, which included 2.62 at 12.54%. So, I mean, marvelous results. Clearly, it's very shallow, quite accessible. And likewise, hole 5, 8.5 meters at 2.67, which includes 2.2 at almost 10%, or 9.7%. And again, great intercept. The one I really wanted to draw your attention to is really hole 6. Now, hole 6, we had an interval that was missing, which is sitting right in the middle of that zone. There was no recovery through there. I can't remember what the issue was, but it could have been frozen water pipes, whatever, it doesn't matter. We were missing a 1.3 meter interval right in the guts of this thing. So what that could have been, we don't know. We have to treat it at this point as 0.91 at 4.3%. But the reality is that the grade is still there. Now, every drill hole that we've developed to date has intersected a broad zone of antimony mineralisation. And I've tried to indicate that again by this upper boundary. So we see a broad zone of enrichment, and then within, really towards the base of that zone, we see a high-grade zone, which is imminently exploitable by us. If we look at the projection of that red zone, red-blue, up to the west, you can see, to the east in this case, you can see the historic open pit. And in fact, this gives us an opportunity for a starting point once we come in to develop mining operations here. Come down a page, please. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the, let's make sure I got the right page. My things sensitive. Okay, the key drilling findings. So we've got wide mineralized zones. We've got intercepts which are measuring between 8 to 11 meters, and these are substantially wider than anything that you would typically see in most of our Western systems, where the widths are typically less than a meter. We've got very high grade numbers coming out of the core with values up to 66.5% antimony. Now, thin, but again, it's part of a sequence. So when you look at that sequence, it's over a much greater width and it's all imminently exploitable at some point. What we have determined is that this is not a singular event. This is a multi-phase hydrothermal system, and that has implications for us going forward, because essentially long-lived systems have the potential to build big deposits. As I said, the system is very wide. We see it on the scale of tens of meters. It's just there is an enriched zone, and then there is a concentration at depth. So we are seeing this potential to build up a big system. The antimony itself ranges from being disseminated in the upper enriched part, and then in the massive zone at depth, of course, we're dealing with substantial quantities of stibnite. The upper zone is also full of pyrite and marcasite, and sometimes a little bit of pyrrhotite. So the way that we view this is that there was an early stibnite-rich phase, and then this was subsequently replaced by an iron sulfide event, which introduced the pyrite and the marcasite. So that has fantastic implications because, of course, stibnite, as we know from our announcements and from work done, is not typically a geophysically responsive sulfide, whereas the presence of pyrite, marcasite, these are metals or minerals that we can use and take full advantage of to improve our targeting elsewhere within the claim areas, within both the patented and unpatented at later times. So we believe this event also accessed the same structure that the stibnite came up through. We know that the salt and pepper crystal tuff acted as the critical trap for the early fluid pulses. So we really do see that this tuffaceous unit is where the stibnite sits. So when we look at our structural controls, we've made a comment, in fact, several times, that we saw the northwest trending structures, faults, as being the priority control. This work has shown and suggested that that is not necessarily the case, and that some of these northeasterly trending controls are just as critical. So I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. Now, we've made a comparison to the Xiguangshan deposit in China, which is world's largest antimony deposit. At the moment, it's more graphical than anything and potentially on scale. As you know, we've got mineralisation in Antimony Canyon, and 10 kilometres to the north, we have antimony mineralisation being exposed in Drywash Canyon. And it looks to be in the same package of rocks, the same sequence of rocks as what we have in Antimony Canyon. Now, scale is similar to what we see in Xiguangshan. Sorry, my pronunciation's dreadful. So scale is something that is of interest, but this deposit also has this strata-bound mineralisation, which is sitting within calcareous rocks, just like ACP. And it also has evidence of a multi-phase hydrothermal history. So the average grades and widths seem to be similar. So they're, at least at this point in time, very loosely, there are a lot of similarities between what we see in this deposit and what we see in ACP. So we hope that, of course, ACP will continue to evolve and develop into something like this, but that's just a matter of getting the work done.
Great, thanks, Jono.
Do you want me to stop there? Or
no, keep going on.
Okay. So our original drilling, both of these images on our right are looking to the south. The image, the top image, is basically the original concept of these northwest trending feeders, and we were coming in testing for these. After a number of holes, we went back to the CSANT, we had another look, and what we saw is on line 4, we've got line 4 here, line 3 here, line 200 sits in behind, so it's back in behind to the east of Emma and Gem. All that line of workings is the continuation of this conductor here, and this conductor actually is T-shaped, and so we see this northwest control coming through. And so what we did was, with the rigs, we spun the rigs around, and once we spun the rigs around, of course, we ended up getting really fantastic results. So we're quite excited by that, and it wasn't an orientation that we'd really considered, but it was there in our data, and we're now using it to guide our drilling programs. Come on. So the other thing is, of course, as Andre said, with Little Emma, which is this patent claim here, you can see it's close to the mouth of the valley, and there is an access track that comes through, and we could get onto the ground here. So that was primarily why we've chosen to start here. It is just one of 20. So we've already hit what we consider to be or made a substantial discovery, a significant discovery within the Nevada area, the Emma, Nevada, Albion area, which is this package of claims in here. And of course, that really is the first of a number of patented claims. And we are now progressing from here over to the Blackjack, Tanjack area, where if we just step back for a moment, this conductor here continues across from over here. So it's back behind here, and it continues across and runs up this thing here. So that should be very, very interesting. So really, just to round out the chat, we've confirmed that we've got high-grade antimony. So we've confirmed that we're sitting in a powerful mineralizing system. We know that we can make analogies, at least loosely at this point in time, to other deposits globally. It is not just the one in China that I mentioned. There's also deposits in Eastern Europe, particularly in Slovakia, which are looking very similar to this. They also are long-lived, large-scale systems. We know that we do, in fact, have a large, long-lived hydrothermal system, which is, as I said earlier, a key for forming big deposits. We know that significant exploration upside remains. We've got multiple targets which remain untested within Emma and obviously elsewhere within the project area. So, I mean, there is just a lot of work to be done. Our task was to basically come to terms with the geology and set ourselves up for our future exploration and drilling campaigns on the patent claims. We feel we've progressed well on that front. And just a reminder, this is the first time this district has been systematically explored and drilled, and that we've already made a significant discovery, which, you know, to us is a fantastic outcome. So thank you very much, and that'll do from me.
Thank you very much. Thanks for covering that, Jono. So just again, to reiterate what Jono said, you know, we did intercept the, you know, the interpreted horizon that was there, and on every hole that we drilled, and you know, every hole that we did drill was mineralized, you know, with antimony. But obviously, our announcement that we put out earlier this week focused on anything with great significance. So this campaign, again, you know, it's teaching us a lot about the geology, about the setting. And you know, it's really setting us up to better identify the targets on the next patented claims, you know, for our future drilling. And as Jono mentioned, you know, we've got 19 other patented claims to go, and over 300 unpatented claims to get to at some stage as well. And we started work with the US Forest Service on that as well. So, you know, typical drilling campaigns, typical exploration, you know, we've made mistakes, and obviously we'll keep making mistakes, but we're going to learn from them. And that's how we understand the geology and get better at what we do. So again, no mistake, this is a significant discovery for us. This is a significant discovery for the US antimony as well. You know, I've seen most antimony mines worldwide, you know, and usually they're very narrow vein, some of them high grade, some of them lower grade, but they're very narrow vein, and they're normally subvertical. This one is unusual, as Jono said, it's sub-horizontal, and near the surface, and the grades are, we're getting zones that are particularly high grade with mineralization over a wide area as well. So very mineable, very easy to access, through open pit mining, and we're pretty excited about this. And again, as John has said, it's comparable to the largest and the longest operating mines in one of the largest and longest operating antimony mines in the world, which is the Siquanshang in Hunan province. I've actually visited that mine, and it's quite impressive. Although they at depth, theirs is not as close to the surface as Antimony Canyon, so we're pretty lucky there. And I truly believe that ACP could turn out to be the largest and definitely the largest in the US, the largest antimony deposit in the US and probably the West, with a significant mine life as well. So just to cover the next steps at ACP, we're going to obviously finish the drilling at Emma, and that'll probably finish in the next month or two, probably the next 2 months, we'll finish that. In the meantime, we've, excuse me, got applications in for the next stage of drilling. That's on the other side of the canyon, on the northern side of the canyon. And we're busy working with the US Forest Service as well to get some NOIs in for some drilling on the US Forest Service land, although the permitting will be slightly longer than the sort of 15 to 30 days we expect from the states. We're going to be expanding the infrastructure there in the Antimony Canyon area. We've identified some land to put a plant. First of all, we're going to start again with our pilot plant. So we still intend to do our pilot mining by the end of the year. And once we acquire the land, we will start working on the actual plant itself. And then before the end of the year, we hope to put out some kind of a mineral resource, even if it's an interim one, a mineral resource for the area, followed by a PFS soon after that. On the smelter front, that strategy is still going well. We've identified some sites, or actually a site for the smelter, probably at this stage in Utah somewhere. And we're working with some of the local landowners and construction contractors to further that as well. And obviously, we're going to go to the next phase with Metso, which will include our detailed engineering design to advance that strategy. Maybe just talk a bit about tungsten. I've actually appointed a project manager, Jack Webby, also geology background and project management background. So he's going to lead our tungsten strategy. We've actually set up a completely separate team from the ACP guys, and they'll be working at starting off at Dutch Mountain, and also Tennessee Mountain on the exploration there. We met with the BLM regarding the submitted NOIs. Sorry, the US Forest Service and the BLM regarding submitted NOIs for Dutch Mountain and Tennessee Mountain. And we hope to start drilling pretty soon at fraction load. We're hoping within the next couple of months we'll be on the ground at fraction load. And obviously, depending on how quick the Forest Service can come back with permits, we also hope to be drilling there within the next couple of months as well. So exciting stuff on tungsten. Just for those that don't know about a hub and spoke strategy that we've developed. So we really want to have Tennessee Mountain, Nightingale, and Dutch Mountain. Dutch Mountain's already got their own plant, their own mill, fully permitted mill, and that's the one that we've started upgrading refurbishing and upgrading at the moment, and that'll probably take us towards the end of the year to get done. But we also want to set up a plant eventually set up a plant at Tennessee Mountain and eventually Nightingale as well. And then we're developing a separate strategy to develop a tungsten refining facility as well. That'll sort of cover the region, not just us, but any other players in the region that can send their concentrates to this refinery, and we can produce ATP and obviously tungsten metal powder as well for the US market. And we open to it, and we've already started discussions with some of the other players. We're open to cooperation and JVs with any of the other projects that are in the area. So we also, again, we had a call this morning. We're working some potential off-takers for not just for antimony, but for tungsten as well. There's been a lot of interest. There's interest from the US government as well. So that's progressing pretty well at this stage. An update on our Nasdaq ADR listing, that's still on track for Q2 2026. A lot would obviously depend on the SEC and how quick they can turn around our application. And that what the Nasdaq listing is really going to give us is access to obviously US investors, but also more importantly, US finance as well. No mining project is cheap, and at some stage we'll have to raise some money for the project. So just again, to wrap up, the team is working hard. We're expanding as we speak. We're adding more members to the team. We've got a very clear strategy for antimony and for tungsten. And we realize that we've raised some high expectations amongst investors and amongst other stakeholders. And we hold ourselves to very high standards as well. And we're going to try and live up to those expectations that we've raised and set for ourselves as well going forward. We'll keep going with our plans, and we're counting on the support of all our stakeholders. One question that I did, in fact, I hope we've answered most of the questions that have come through. One important thing that I do want to cover is we'll actually set up a separate webinar where we'll discuss our Australian assets and the strategy there and the progress that we're making on those as well. So, I fully believe that ACP is going to turn out to be a world-class asset, a world-class long-life asset, and I've seen pretty much most of the antimony mines worldwide. So I really have good experience with that. And again, ACP and it was going to play a key role, along with obviously Tennessee Mountain, Dutch Mountain, and Nightingale, a key role in supplying, critical antimony and tungsten, to the US defense base and to the industrial base as well. Guys, thanks for your time, and thanks for dialing in. And I hope we've covered what we need to cover. And if not, we'll try and address some of these on a future webinar as well. Thanks, Kristen.
And Jonathan, we'll now thank everybody for tuning in. We will upload this webinar recording to the website later today. And if you want any further updates, visit the website, www.ataa.com. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.